Hey everybody, this is Matt and we're at Texas Toast Guitars. Thanks for watching. If you have ever built a guitar out of scrap wood, go ahead and click that subscribe button now. Okay, so this is a project that I've been wanting to do for a while, ever since I saw this piece of lumber sitting around this old building. And I've been wanting to do it, and it's a particularly good day to do it because it's late at night and Chris isn't here to go, hey, goddammit, I thought we were only going to work on blah, 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 blah. And so, yeah, what we are going to do is we're going to take this chunk of poplar that is in no way suitable for building a guitar as it is right now. First of all, it has a bunch of holes in it, and it's covered with latex paint on 3 sides. It's PSP, painted on 3 sides with paint. So, yeah, and it's got big holes on the painted face, and it's got smaller holes on this face. Not to mention, it is, let's see, get the old danger glasses out here. It is just under 1.5 inches. Okay, so right before your very eyes, I'm going to take this chunk of 1.5 inch wide poplar, and I'm going to, that's full of holes, and I am going to turn it into a guitar body that is 1 3/4 inches thick. See if you can guess how I'm going to do that. So as you can see, this board is loaded with holes right down the center. And like you saw previously, it is covered with latex paint. But sometimes the coolest guitars are ones that don't owe us anything. And I think this one is going to be neat. So generally speaking, anytime anyone comes to me with a project like this or an idea like this, I always go, you know what, it would be so much easier for you to just go buy a chunk, especially of poplar, that is dimensionally correct for the project that you're doing and isn't covered with paint and isn't full of holes. But I have this thing about seeing wood go to waste, and like I said, sometimes the guitars that don't really owe you very much are some of the coolest ones. And I think once this guy's done, you guys are going to agree that this one was maybe not worth doing, but at least fun to watch. The best part about this is the wood is free, and because I'm not doing anything tonight, my time is essentially free because I'm going to have a really good time doing this. Like I said, this has been a project that I've been wanting to do ever since I found this chunk of lumber in a building that doesn't have very much lumber in it. It's a modern office building and all the studs are metal and there's hardly any wood in it anywhere. So finding a piece of poplar, like, it was meant to be. Okay, so while I've been talking for the last few minutes, you guys have probably been racking your brains trying to figure out how I'm going to make this chunk of timber that's full of holes and is 1.5 inches into a body blank that is 1 3/4 inches. So let's go ahead and get started with that right now. The first step is the bandsaw. So what we're probably going to do with this body blank is build one of our daily drivers. Because the width is 8 inches, we would have to have at least one glue seam anyway. And I thought, well, hey, what if we had a lot of glue seams? So I got the fence on my bandsaw set to 2 inches, and I'm going to run the plank through there. And you probably are starting to think, now I know where you're going with this. Okay, so the astute observer will notice that all of the holes from the board are cut off into these little chunks here, and this was the piece in the middle that had all the holes in it. And what I have done is I have stacked them up so that the 2-inch side is now my thickness. And what will happen is when we glue all this stuff up, all of this will get cut away to form the body. Of course, we've got 2 more sticks to cut up, and then we just got to figure out how to glue it together to make it look right. Once it's all glued, we'll run this through the planer, and we'll be styling. And by the way, if you guys haven't made one of these stools yet, out of some old scrap maple like I'm kind of doing right now, to use to sit on and for a sawhorse, you're really missing out. Okay, I got my Roy Underhill fix done for the day, and as you can see here, I have a nice 2-inch wide body blank that could be glued up, and as you can see, it will work for a standard Telecaster size guitar. Now I still got to get rid of all this paint because that's not going to glue up very well. So we're going to run this across the planer, and we'll just set it up one time and do it. You know, maybe we'll use the joiner. Maybe we'll chase it on the thickness sander. I don't know. Let's see. So there's phase one of the glue up operation. And, you know, I didn't film myself gluing stuff because I'm like, who wants to watch me clamp stuff and glue stuff? But you can see here that I sort of traced the outline of the template so that I could get my, make sure everything's clamped up nicely. You might notice that some of it is missing, and that is because these pieces here are going to go on after the glue dries on this hunk. And the reason I did it like that is so that I could maximize my clamps and not have to juggle a bunch of stuff all at the same time. Hey, by the way, this glue roller works great if you've got lots of stuff to glue up along the length. Okay, so that pretty much went exactly like I thought it was going to go. And we're all out of beer here in the shop, and I'm going to go get some, and then I'm going to drink some. When I come out tomorrow morning, I may or may not have a different shirt on, so you know, you'll notice that. And I'll glue up the wings that will make the you know, the rest of the hips and contours on the guitar. Well, sort of like this one. So we'll have to get this bit and this bit and this bit and this bit, and everything will be wonderful. And then after that's all dried up, I'll run it through the planer and get it to the right thickness, and well, hell, it's practically a guitar body. So like I said, I'm gonna go buy some beer and then drink some beer, and see you guys tomorrow. Through the miracle of TV magic, well, you know where I'm going with this. Okay, everybody, it is the next day, and my body blank is all glued up, and it looks like hell because it's 11 pieces. But here is what it kind of looks like. As you can see, it's still got a bunch of the latex paint on this side, and it's all kinds of glued up. But remember, we're like 2 inches thick here, and so what we're going to do next is we're going to cut a bunch of this junk out so that it's approximately where we want it to be, and more importantly, we'll fit through the planer. And then we're going to plane it all down and get everything nice and flat, and then get all this crap taken care of, and it's going to start to look a little bit more like a guitar. But first we're going to kind of trim this out a little bit on the bandsaw. Well, I forgot to push play on the camera when I was using the bandsaw, but this is kind of what it's going to look like before we send it through the planer. I haven't decided yet. I might want to send this through the thickness sander because I like the thickness sander more than the planer. And I'm not sure what's going to happen when I send this through. Haven't decided yet. Although I don't really want to send a bunch of paint through my sander, so I'm leaning towards the planer. Okay, everybody, that was a lot of work to add 1/8 of an inch to this body, but we did it, and we have run it through the planer, and then we ran it through the thickness sander for the final dimensioning because I like to do that. In fact, let's talk a little bit about that. If you are using any kinds of wood that have any figure to them, I would recommend that you get as close as you can with a tool that has a blade, and then get the rest of the way there with a tool that has an abrasive on it. So this poplar isn't bad, but if you get any kind of weird, you know, tear out or chips or anything, the hot setup is to go ahead and take it down with something like a planer, or like I said, something with a blade on it, and then finish it up with something with an abrasive like a thickness sander. You do have a thickness sander, don't you? Yeah, most people. Chris is shaking his head. So this guy is ready to go. What if you don't have a thickness sander? That's kind of a good question. You know, one of the things that I did before I had a thickness sander and before I had most of the tools that I have in the shop right now is I made friends with some guys who had a cabinet shop, and they would let me come in. Actually, I would also go to Brain Surgery Kevin's shop, even though it was a metalworking shop. He would let me use some of his tools, and in many ways, I was able to use like his giant bandsaw and some of that stuff, and it worked great. But I went to my friend Jay's place over at Straight Edge Woodworking, and I made friends with him, and he helped me out with a lot of things. So if you don't have all the tools that I have, you don't need to necessarily run out and buy them right away. You can use the resources that you have, and maybe use some resources that other people have if you pay them with money or beer. And they'll 9 times out of 10 they'll let you come in and do some work in their shop too. So anyway, that's a side note. That might be a good video for another time too. Anyway, this guy is a fully fledged body blank right now, and I am going to put some fabric on this and turn it into a really, really cool guitar. Well, hell, let's just do that now. Is that true?
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I'm like, you're about to tell me to remember to do something, and I want to make sure. Did Brad show up? He was thinking about it, but he was getting tired. So.
No.
Sure.
So they're like talking about fire.
The new hotness?
Yeah.
Oh, it's totally. Okay, so yesterday we did all that shit that we did yesterday that you just watched in the video, and now we're going to mix up some of our Simtex sealer and we're going to brush it on the fabric that we put on yesterday. So here's how much I'm using. It's 5 or 6 ounces. And we'll add quite a bit of hardener because I don't want to spend time measuring it. A lot of people have asked me how we apply sealer when we're not spraying. I thought I've made a bunch of videos about that, but I guess I haven't. So I got quite a bit going in this cup here, and all of that is going to go mixed onto the top of the guitar that doesn't owe us anything. Okay, so I got my material on the guitar here, and remember we haven't cut out the shape outline yet because, well, you're going to see why. So the stuff goes on pretty thick, and it soaks into the fabric. And remember what I said? You're going to see why. It's probably starting to run down this edge right here. And when we run this across the shaper, all that stuff's going to go away. We won't have to worry about it, and it will be totally cool. So I'm not really worried about. I mean, I just want to get it to get on everything. I'm not worried about how level it is. I'm certainly not worried about any runs because it's laying flat. And all this stuff's going to get sanded out down the line. Man, it's going on super, super thick. It's probably going on too thick.
Yeah. Chris is going to be so mad.
He's going to be so mad. Okay guys, so we're going to wrap this up. If you have any questions, please leave them in the comment section below. If you like the video, give us a thumbs up, and if you appreciate content like this, you might want to consider checking out our Patreon page and becoming a member over there. You can sign up for even as low as $1 a month, and $1 a month goes a long way to helping us bring you cool stuff like this. And remember, every dollar that you spend on the Patreon page goes towards your next Texas Toast purchase. So that's cool too. So, this is Matt at Texas Toast reminding you that if you're so smart, build it yourself. That's what I do. And if you're really smart, you can have us do it for you. Thanks for watching, everybody.